let's take a quick look back at, you called it, Pat George, the Curtis Reeves story, because, boy, this one shocked me, I have to say. I mean, we came out, we said what we thought would happen in that trial, and shockingly, and that's why we've got to take a look back at this one, shockingly, at least from our perspective, that came out totally differently than what we expected. Because you would have thought that maybe there would have been some kind of a disagreement on the evidence or a ruling of law or something like that happened to upset that trial that took a week just to pick the jury. And remember, the judge was a little bit perturbed by the end of that week. But after the jury heard all the evidence, and we have to respect the jury process, the trial process, where the evidence that's allowed to go before the jury based on various different evidentiary rules that have been developed through the centuries. Certain evidence is allowed to go before the jury, certain evidence is not. Now, it's not our understanding that the case turned on any one piece of evidence that they did or didn't hear, so we believe they pretty much heard most of it. So it would be the argument to interpret that evidence that the jury's going to have to determine which side's argument was accurate, and at the end of the day, they wound up acquitting Curtis Reeves. So he didn't do it. I mean, well, he did it, but it was self-defense, right? That's what they found. They acquitted him of second-degree murder and aggravated battery, so he was convicted on none of the charges in killing that 43-year-old man in the movie theater who apparently just threw a bag of popcorn at him. But the defense lawyer said, well, he didn't know what was behind that bag of popcorn. And I'll tell you, I am flat-out surprised. I'm surprised at an acquittal in that case. Maybe I didn't hear all the evidence. Maybe the media didn't bring forward all of the evidence that the jury heard. I don't know. I don't know what basis, on what basis they made their decision, because they don't have to tell you that. The jury, they just have to determine the case. And if there's an interrogatory verdict, which there usually isn't in a criminal case, then they might determine certain factual issues. But other than that, they just say guilty or not guilty or acquitted.
3 hours. That's all they took. I think they had their mind made up before they ever went in there.
Well, there's no question about that, Pat George. That's clear. They had to have had their mind made up. They had to have pretty much already been on the same page. Now, maybe they made their final determination. I don't want to impugn the jury because, the jury is instructed not to make its final determination until the close of all of the evidence and all the arguments and all the instructions by the judge. So, but they probably had a pretty good idea of their view on the evidence by the end of it, and I guess nothing changed that idea, because you're exactly right, Pat George. 3 hours to acquit somebody or convict them is just not a lot of time for consideration. So, boy, what a surprise coming out of the Curtis Reeves trial. I did not see that one coming.
And I don't know if Roxanne knew this, but, his daughter got married the next day.
I heard that. Yeah. Can you imagine the timing of that? Because obviously you don't know how long the jury's going to deliberate. You have no idea.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was, he got that news, and then she got married the next day. So if he had gone to jail, gone to prison, he wouldn't be walking her down the aisle.
I mean, who sets their wedding like that? I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, did they think that he was going to be acquitted that quickly?
Yeah.
I guess that is a bullish signal, Roxanne. I would say so. I mean, goodness gracious. Well, we don't want to wade too far into it because he's been acquitted, found not guilty. So it is what it is. The jury took its time. We trust the jury process. A jury, your peers. It's a constitutional framework that was established at the founding of the country for both criminal and civil cases. The right to a trial by jury, it's one of your constitutional rights. It's a very important protection against the overreaches of government, and it's an important part of keeping the application of the law related to the community to which it applies.
What about a civil lawsuit?
Well, that could be coming. I mean, but you've got to wonder what they're going to go on at this point, because a conviction would have been one thing, and that would have established certain facts that you could then use in a civil lawsuit. Well, it's already been established by the jury that this was wrongful because it was a crime, and so therefore we could go and pursue like a wrongful death case. At this point, though, I would say, what are you going to do with it? If it hasn't already been begun, I think the statute of limitations on that would have run already. So, what are you going to do at this point? And I don't know any of the facts of what might be going on the civil side of things. If there was a civil case filed and then it was just stayed pending the outcome of the criminal case, which would have been something that, would have been possible and makes some sense, because you can't really have a civil proceeding going on at the same time as a criminal proceeding, because the criminal's got to take precedence, and your rights against things like self-incrimination have got to be respected in the criminal proceeding, so you can't be usually deposed in the civil proceeding, etc. So it sort of slows things down in the civil proceeding. Most of them get stayed in those cases. Stayed just means like put off for a bit until the court enters another order. So anyway, I don't know that there is any ongoing civil proceeding. The whole thing, no matter what happened, guilty, not guilty, whatever, the whole thing, as we said from the beginning, is a tragedy. It's really awfully sad to see somebody shot in a movie theater here locally over really a small argument over whether or not you should be texting or using your cell phone in a movie theater. And those of us that have been to the movies have seen plenty of that. I mean, that's all you see. Folks are on their phones and stuff. And I know it's irritating to a lot of folks, but someone should not have been shot over that. But in any event, that case is over with now. He's been acquitted. That's a done deal, and it's a surprise here to all of us. I think, Pat George, I'm glad you were as surprised as I was.
I couldn't believe what I read. I thought it was a joke.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that, and I thought, wow, how did they do that? But again, I want to be careful. I want to trust the jury process because that's something I do believe in. Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.